Welcome back to the Tears of a Bookie YouTube channel. This is video number 2. Today is October 23rd, Wednesday, and I've got 3 best bets for today's slate. My name is Mo, and without further ado, let's begin. But before starting, let's just quickly go over yesterday's bets. It was just one. The Celtics alternate spread -3.5. Easy W there. It was a blowout, and kind of what I predicted, that the Knicks, they were still kind of struggling, still don't have that team chemistry, but it was even way worse than I thought. Um, Man, I wish I kind of played the actual spread, but nonetheless, a win is a win. Um, I'll show here on the screen. You can probably see the total win and the season record so far for us. But again, it's just one bet, so doesn't really matter. Just one bet is nothing. But with that being said, today there are many more games. I think every team that didn't get a chance to play yesterday is playing. And like I said, I got 3 best bets. Let's just get right into it. And let's start with my first bet. This is a national TV covered one, the Clippers versus the Suns. And this bet is a player prop for the first time. It's Ivica Zubac, if I'm pronouncing his name right. I probably am not. Under 9.5 rebounds, -115 on FanDuel. Now, he is going to be playing against Nurkic. Yusuf Nurkic is the starting center for the Suns. And Nurkic is an elite rebounder. Last season, he had 11 rebounds. He finished the season with 11 rebounds per game, which was the 7th in the league. And because of that, that's probably why the Suns, part of the reason why the Suns gave up the second fewest rebounds to the center position last season. And just for an example, some of the last few games in the regular season where Nurkic was playing and he played a good amount of minutes, he held Sabonis to 12, which is actually more than what Sabonis was averaging. But that game he played over 40 minutes, I think. But other than that, he held Rudy Gobert to 6, Jared Allen to 5, Valanciunas to 7, and Chet Holmgren of OKC to 6 rebounds. It's just insane because we all know that a lot of these players easily get double-digit rebounds or close to that on other nights and other matchups. But those were some of the stats in the last games that he played in the regular season. I don't really want to look at the playoff games. But another thing here that we need to look at is history of Nurkic versus Zubac. Now, Zubac is a good rebounder. He really can get a large number of rebounds. But again, this is a matchup thing here. He's playing against Nurkic, and I'm just going to be trusting Nurkic to dominate the boards and make sure that Zubac doesn't get a crazy number of rebounds. What I really like about this pick here is also some books already have the line at 8.5, right? So FanDuel and DraftKings, I think, still have it at 9.5, but Bet365, BetMGM, I think those books have it at 8.5. So not all books even have it at 9.5. And last season, though, let's just look at the matchups before moving on to my next pick. Last season, there were 2 games where these 2 players faced each other in the starting lineup out of the 4 games that the Suns faced the Clippers. And in these 2 games, Nurkic held Zubac to 8 and 3 rebounds. In fact, in the last 10 games since 2020 that these 2 have faced each other, 7 out of 10, so 7 of 10, 70% of those games, Zubac had rebounds under 9. That's right, rebounds 8 or less rebounds, not even just under 10, but 8 or less rebounds. So I really like the odds for this. -115 at FanDuel, Zubac under 9.5. Now let's move on to pick number 2. This is a game play or pick. It's Raptors. It's the Raptors versus the Cavs in Toronto, and it's another alternate spread. We started off hot with the alternate spread yesterday, and I'm playing another one again for this game. It's +9.5 alternate spread, the Raptors. And you can get this at minus 160 on BetMGM. Now, Raptors, the last 2 years, they have had really impressive home opening games. The season opening games at home, they were facing good teams and they've had pretty impressive wins. They won against the Timberwolves last season, and the Timberwolves last season, obviously, Timberwolves made it to the Western Conference Finals. A lot of people thought that they would make it to the finals. And throughout the entire season last year, they were dominant. But the first game in Toronto, they lost to the Raptors. And of course, the year before that, they actually played against the Cavs in the season opening game, and they won that one as well. And if you remember, that was 2 years ago. Actually, the Cavs were kind of hyped up because that was the first year Donovan Mitchell was part of the Cavs team, and they thought that the Cavs were going to be a major force in the East. And they started the season by not even winning against the Raptors. Now, back then they had the Raptors had Siakam and OG. They don't have those players anymore. And also, unfortunately for the Raptors, RJ Barrett, Bruce Brown, and Kelly Olynyk are on the injury list. They're not playing. But honestly, if they were playing, I would probably play this. I would probably even go for the money line. Since they're not playing, I'm playing this alternate spread. If they were playing, I would just play the original spread or go even for the money line. But they are out and the Cavs are pretty healthy. But here is the main reason why I really like this, other than the reason I just stated. So, I don't know if it's because of the Cavs' new coach or what, but this season, their preseason this year was ugly. Now, I know, again, preseason shouldn't be looked at in with too much depth, right? But I mean, it helped with the Knicks prediction, and I still take a look just to make sure everything adds up with the previous season stats. This preseason, they went 0 and 4. They could not get a single victory. And one of their games was an embarrassing loss to the Detroit Pistons. That's right, the worst team in the league last year, had one of the worst performances, one of the worst records in NBA history, and they lost to this team in Detroit. Now, in that game, their starters, the Cavaliers starters, actually played good minutes. They all played over 20 minutes. Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Darius Garland, Karis LeVert, Donovan Mitchell, they were all starting and they all played over 20 minutes. And now, what about the Pistons? Well, the Pistons also had their starting lineup: Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr., Jalen Duren, Kate Cunningham, Jaden Ivey. But these starting players only played 8 minutes and then they were benched. And it was the reserves that were able to maintain the Pistons' lead and help them get the W. So that to me is just very concerning. If you're a Cavs fan, you should be concerned with that. Again, it was the preseason, I get it, but still, they were obviously trying to find that team chemistry and get a W, and they could not win against the Pistons. So I really like this play here, this alternate spread. I don't even hate the original spread, which I think is 6.5, but you know me, I like to play it safe. If the Raptors can just keep it, keep the point differential between within single digits, this is an easy W. And with that said, my third and final pick for today's slate is this one takes us to the Houston Rockets game in Houston, where they are facing the Charlotte Hornets. We have East versus West team matchup for this game here. And this is a same game parlay, the first parlay, I guess, for this season. And it's Alfred Şengün, 18 plus points, and the Rockets alternate spread minus 2.5. The original spread is 6.5, but again, you know me, I like the alternate lines. I'm playing the minus 2.5. First, let's talk about Alfred Şengün, the Turkish superstar of the Houston Rockets. Well, first of all, the Hornets, they do not really have many roster changes in the center position, at least. And last year, they gave up the third most points to centers. And again, there's no real roster change. And with Williams out, because Mark Williams, I think, is out, so Nick Richards is probably going to be the starting center. Well, this preseason, with Nick Richards starting, Bam Adebayo scored 13 points. Let's just look at some of the stats. Bam Adebayo scored 13 points in 17 minutes. Karl Anthony Towns scored 10 in 15 minutes. He scored 12 yesterday in 24 minutes against the Celtics. And Miles Turner scored 18 points. Jericho Sims, another player, playing for the Knicks, he scored 7 points in the game that Cat wasn't playing. Seven might seem low but for Jericho Sims, that's actually high. I think his season average last season was about 2. He had many games where he was playing 20 plus minutes, and even in those, he could not score more than 2 or 3 points. So that's high for him. And if you just take a look at last season too, the last 5 games of last season, where Nick Richards started, Zubac scored 24, Draymond Green scored 8, Jared Allen scored 24 and 17 in 2 games, and Clint Capella scored 12. So all of these centers were able to at least score against him and against the Hornets their point average during that season. They were averaging at least the points that I just mentioned. And now Shangun averaged 21 points last season, and he's just getting better and better, gaining more experience. But the reason why I'm not playing the original line, which is 21 and a half, is his original point line, is I just have 2 concerns. My first concern is that last year Shangun played against the Hornets 2 times. Obviously, he played in both of those games. One of them was a blowout, but in those games he scored 11 and 19. And the one he scored 11 was actually when Richards was starting. And also, the second reason why I have kind of a concern here is because there's a blowout potential for this game, right? The Rockets can absolutely destroy the Hornets. So I like 18 points. That shouldn't be hard for him to score that. But again, I'm not playing the 21 and a half line. Now let's talk about the other leg of the same game parlay. Rockets alternate spread -2.5, or 2.5 spread, meaning that we want them to win by at least 3 points. Well, Rockets last year, they were scary good at their home court. They were winning even the best of the teams at home. On the road, they were struggling, but at home, they were dominant. And this year, of course, they're projected to be even better. A lot of people are expecting them to actually have a good run, make it in the playoffs this time. Um, if you remember last season, they had a great run at the end of the season. I think they had a great winning streak, and they just missed the play-in. So this season, they're obviously thirsty to be even better. And the West is hard, but they're looking to make it to the playoffs this year. And also, last year, both of the games against the Hornets, they won. And in fact, one of those games in Charlotte, they blew them out. But Charlotte could keep it close. The game in Houston last year, they lost by 9 points. 9 points. They kept it within single digits. So yeah, that's my third bet. Alfred Şengün 18 plus points, and Rockets -2.5 alternate spread. Same game parlay -110 on DraftKings. With that said, those were my 3 best bets. If you like them, I would appreciate a like, subscribe, whatever, all those YouTube things. And yeah, hopefully we cash all 3 of these, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, and thank you.